all the viewers. I'm Professor Suhas from Discipline of Psychology, School of Social Sciences, IGNOU, Delhi. And the topic that I'm going to deal with today is determinants of group productivity. The main thing that we are going to cover in this session is significance of the topic, of course, and various determinants of group productivity. As we know that overall, you can say the, overall activity or rather attempt is made in an organization so that the productivity of the employees increase. So in a similar manner, their productivity also should increase when they are working in a group. So we have to focus on how, when they are working together, when people are working together, when employees are working together, how can their productivity increase? Because, when people are working in group, there could be a lot of issues. We also know that today there are a lot of complex activities which require people to work in a group and not alone, right? Especially in an organizational setup, there could be n number of activities that cannot be carried out alone. They need to be carried out in a group setup or in groups. But when people are working in group, there could be conflicts, there could be argument, there could be so many issues. There could also be leadership issues, there could be communication related issues, there could be coordination related issues, and so on. So that is the reason why we have to focus on what are the determinants of group productivity so that we are able to create and promote groups in such a manner that they work effectively and the productivity is high. One of the first determinants of group productivity is group size. In the previous session as well, we focused on this, that the group size, should be adequate. So group size denotes the number of members in the group. And there could be large groups or there could be small groups as well, though there could be an ideal group size as well. The group size will depend on the nature of the work or functions to be carried out by the group. The number of members the group leader will be able to effectively supervise is also termed as span of control. So group size will also depend on that, because like the nature of work, if it is not very complex or probably, complex work would probably require a smaller group. So depending on the nature of work, basically, it is to be decided. The organization will decide whether, what should be the size of the group. Also, it is very important because as we have discussed even earlier in previous session, that the role of the leader is extremely important. So in this case, again, the span of control, this is one particular concept that is extremely important. And that is nothing but how effectively a leader is able to supervise. Because if there are a large number of members in a particular group, that leader will not be able to effectively supervise, and his or her span of control again will be less. So this also is important. To discuss further over span of control, the span of control will also be determined by various factors like the extent of subordinate training, the ability to delegate work to others as displayed by the supervisor or the leader, the rate at which change takes place in an organization, and also the extent of personal contact that exists between the employees in an organization. Further, the impact that the size of group has on the group performance or outcome will also depend mainly on two forces that are opposite and on the balance between these four forces. Like, that is, as the group size increases, there is also increase in the resources that can enhance the accomplishment of the task. Obviously, as the members in a group increase, that many heads basically are thinking, or that many hands are there to work. However, as the group size increases, issues related to coordination and organization may also crop in. A larger group as such could be more difficult to organize and manage, and this can have an impact on group performance and management. That is the reason why we have been saying that, to deciding about an optimal group size is extremely important. Thus, it is important to have an optimal group size that will not only make available adequate resources, but also effective coordination and organization. The group leader does play an important role here and will also depend on the nature of the task and goal to be achieved. So basically, the group size will also depend on the nature of the task that is at hand. So these things are to be taken into consideration when we talk about a group size. As such, absolutely, a group size, an ideal group size will depend on the nature of the work and also on the nature of the task and the complexity task and so on, but also on the leader and how effectively he or she is able to manage that particular group. And we also discussed here that as the group size increases, there are certain benefits, but then there could also be issues in terms of coordination and communication. Because as there are many people, there could be misunderstanding, there could be communication barriers, and so on, which is to be taken care of. Let us look at the next determinant of group productivity, that is group composition. This is nothing but the similarity or dissimilarity amongst the group members in terms of demographic factors like age, gender, personal traits, background of the members, and so on. So, how similar or dissimilar the group is in terms of its composition. Though there is no concrete answer as such to whether a group having members with similar background will perform better or members with dissimilar background will perform better, composition of the group, keeping in mind the nature of the task, whether simple or complex, can play an important role. So not necessarily it is possible that people who are not similar, they say birds of same feather flock together, but that it's not necessarily is true in this case. It will depend, but then depending on the nature of the task at hand, the decision needs to be taken. A simpler task may require a group that is more homogeneous, similar, whereas with regard to complex tasks, heterogeneous group will bring in more diverse views and opinions and thus can be beneficial. Further, with regard to the personal traits of the members in the group, certain traits like being stable and responsible, dependable, being self-reliant can be considered as significant amongst the members for them to perform in tandem with each other. So, this is again very important, the respect for each other and how, the individuals are behaving, whether they are behaving in a responsible manner or not. All these things also can be important when we talk about group composition. In this context, we can also talk about FIRO-B, that is nothing but fundamental interpersonal relations orientation theory. That is FIRO-B theory. This theory focuses on how individuals adjust or orient themselves to others. The theory also emphasizes the significance of compatible needs. The theory highlights the three compatible needs, that is inclusion, that is need to maintain interaction with others, that is satisfactory, control, that is need to influence others and direct their behavior, affection, need closeness with others. Thus, the groups that have compatible needs amongst their members will perform better when compared to groups that do not have compatible needs amongst their members. The next determinant, that is group norms. Norms extremely important, not only in groups, but societal norms as well in general. If we talk, they are extremely important because they are going to guide our behavior. So let us see how group norms are going to be important in determining a group performance or group productivity. Norms can be described in simple terms as standards of behavior that the group members are expected to adhere to in the group. And these norms are common to all the group members and develop as a result of gradual process in congruence with the development of the group. So norms gradually develop, as groups form. We also spoke about norming stage in when we talked about group development. So norming basically can gradually develop as well. These norms may or may not be written and could also be implicit or explicit. Norms could be related to performance, teamwork, communication amongst the members, interpersonal relationship, honesty, training and development, change, innovation, leadership, and so on. So the norms can be related to various aspects. Data in 1995 stated 4 norms that are found in a group. This is as cited in Fincham and Rhodes, 1999. They are fairness, reciprocity, reasonableness, and role expectation. And mainly, let us discuss what these 4 norms are. Fairness. There has to be fairness and equitability in the contribution of the group members towards group activity. So, how much each member is basically asked to contribute. There has to be some fairness. Suppose if one particular member feels that I'm contributing more than the other group member, or I have been given more work than other group members, then there can be an issue. Reciprocity. Group members need to display reciprocity. That is, if one of the group members is helpful towards another, then the other group member need to reciprocate. So if I am helping other group members, I will expect that the other group members also will help me out. The reasonableness, that is the behavior of the group needs to be rational and reasonable, and they should not exploit each other in any way. Role expectation, that this mainly denotes the expectation with regard to role that the group members are expected to play or carry out. So, whatever the role expectation, that is also extremely important. Group norms play a significant role as the central value of the group are expressed through the norms, and they also regulate the behavior of the group members, thus enhancing group functioning. Group norms are also a reflection of the nature of the group. Norms serve as guiding principles that determine the group members' behavior and also help in dealing with any deviant behavior. So if there is any deviant behavior on part of any of the group members, norms can be used to deal with that deviant behavior. Group norms are most often accepted by the large number of group members and focus more on group behavior than the feeling and thoughts of the members. Norms cover the significant aspect of a group and play an important role in management of the group. Any deviation from the group norms, as I discussed even earlier, is dealt with by varying degrees of tolerance. And this will also depend on the status of the individual in the group as well as the norm that was violated. Non-compliance and compliance of these group norms often meet with punishment and reward respectively. It is also important to note that the norms are as such difficult to change or modify. So, this is again very important to look into. The next is group cohesiveness. We looked at we earlier looked at group size, we looked at group composition, we looked at group norms. Let us now look at the next determinant of group productivity, that is group cohesiveness. Cohesiveness can be described as the degree to which the members of the group are attracted to the group and to one another. Group cohesiveness is often termed as the cement that binds the group members together. Festinger, Sachster, and Bach define group cohesiveness as the total field of forces causing members to remain in the group. How cohesive, how close the group members are with each other, that is what is cohesiveness. Various factors that have an impact on group cohesiveness are similarity between the group members, openness displayed by them, trust, of course. These are, again, extremely important. And cohesion of the group is also determined by the needs of the group members, the nature and type of group activities, the past experiences of the group, mainly in terms of failures and success, and also the incentive properties related to the group membership. A group that displays high cohesiveness is more likely to work effectively, and the interaction and coordination between the group members is also enhanced. High cohesiveness is also linked with high satisfaction, morale, and motivation. It also leads to increased achievement of group goals, better communication, increased loyalty, and reduction in absenteeism and turnover. So as you can see, amongst the group determinants, cohesiveness is extremely important. Though I would also say that all these determinants, that we are going to discuss today, they're all related to each other. One of the last determinants of group productivity is group leader. As we have discussed even earlier in previous session as well, we saw how leader plays an important role throughout the group development in a similar manner. Overall, in the functioning of the group leader is going to play an important role in not only directing the group activities toward the group goals, but also he or she has significant influence on group members and their behavior, because he is the person who will have a complete clear picture about the aim or the goal that is to be achieved by the goal. He or she will have the whole picture of the goal to be achieved, and he or she, the leader, basically will play an important in delegating the work to the group members. Not only that, but then encouraging them, correcting them wherever required, communicating effectively with them, or even ensuring effective communication between the group members. He or she will also have to ensure that there is effective coordination between the group members, and all these things are extremely important. The leadership style to be adopted will also depend on the nature of the group and the task, because not only nature of the task is important, whether it is complex, simple, what is exactly to be done, but at the same time, what type of group it is, what is the nature of the group will also, based on that, the leadership style is to be that particular style is to be used. In an organizational setup, the focus should also be on leaders of informal group besides the leaders of the formal group. In the previous session, we also discussed that there could be formal groups and informal groups. So as formal groups have leaders in a similar manner, informal groups also could have informal leaders, right? So in an organizational setup, we need to not only focus or identify who are the formal groups. It is very easy to identify, of course, because sometimes the leader is appointed by the organization. But then in informal groups, this could be very difficult. Identifying informal groups and also identifying the group leaders, the group leader in such groups is extremely important. because as we have mentioned that leader is going to play an important role, and he or she will have quite a lot of influence on the behavior of the group members. So to summarize, mainly we discussed about what are the various determinants of group productivity, where we spoke about group size, and we said of course groups could be large or small, but then the size of the group it needs to be determined based on mainly the nature of the task, and it will also depend on the span of control. That is basically to what extent a leader is able to effectively supervise, right? We also spoke about the next, that is group composition, where we said this is nothing but how similar or dissimilar the group members are. And we also said that it's not necessary that if the group is similar, it is going to be more productive, or if the group is dissimilar, it is going to be more productive. But then it will again depend on the group task. Okay, and also the role of the leader is extremely important in this case, because what happens is if the group is similar, fine. If group is similar, if it is a heterogeneous group, the group members also need to accept and respect the differences. If a particular person is different from me, I need to respect that person. I need to accept that person and be open to his or her suggestion. So that is what is very important. Respect and acceptance is very important. People might, you can say, kind of be kind opposed to what is being suggested. That is all right. Opposing or even criticizing to some extent is all right, but then it should not go beyond that. Argument is good, but argument that is beyond, or it goes beyond optimal level, can be detrimental to the group work or group performance. We also spoke about group norms, that are mainly standards of behavior that the group members are expected to adhere to in the group. And group norms play an extremely important role in overall functioning of the group. We also discussed about group cohesiveness, that is nothing but degree to which the group members are attracted to the group and to each other, how close they are with each other. And this is again an extremely important, you can say, determinant of group productivity, and need to be focused on. We have to ensure that the group members develop cohesiveness so that they are able to coordinate with each other in an effective manner. At the same time, they are able to work with each other effectively and in a positive way. Lastly, we also spoke about group leadership, which is again an important determinant, because ultimately leader is the one who is going to have the whole picture or a better idea about the group goal, and at the same time he or she is going to kind of coordinate and communicate with the group members, and you can say channelize them towards achieving the group goal. So I hope we have understood group productivity and basically the determinants of the group productivity. Thank you so much.